Hey guys, it's me, Halloween Dan, and today I am doing a video which in honesty I have hesitated about doing. I was going to do this on Wednesday and I changed my mind, and I've really been back and forth about whether to do this or not, because this could end in tears. Because what I'm going to be talking about today is something I've already talked about in honesty, and I'd hoped I wouldn't need to talk about again. I wouldn't need to address this. I wouldn't need to give an opinion on this. I've said my piece and that's enough. But what I've found over the last few weeks is I have been asked again and again and again by several people through the Halloween community my opinions on this stuff, asking me, what do you think? What do you like? Is this your favorite? Is that your favorite? What will you be buying from this particular range and lineup of stuff? When are you going to do a video? I've been asked several times. The honest truth was I wasn't going to do one. I was going to hold my head under the covers and just hope that this went away. But clearly it hasn't, so I am going to address the elephant that's in the room.
Do you want to talk about the elephant in the room?
Wow, okay.
Unfortunately though, and the reason I was hoping not to have to give my opinion on this stuff again, what I have to say isn't very nice, and it might disappoint and maybe even anger a few, particularly in the UK.
Anarchy in the UK!
But you asked for this, so now you're gonna get it. Because today, what I am going to be talking about is the lineup of props and animatronics coming out of the range for 2025. Mostly they're Sunstar props and animatronics, and I'm sorry to say, you're not gonna like this. So for those of you maybe who aren't from the UK, let me explain the range. The range is a big store that's dotted around the UK, and they sell a lot of things. Funnily enough, they do a very big range. They also do a very large and very impressive array of Halloween decorations. And it is for that reason that so many here in the UK have a real soft spot for this particular store and a real connection with it. It's a connection that in honesty I've never really shared, mostly because of location. I don't live particularly close to the range. I have to travel about 40 minutes to get to the closest ones, and it's a bit out of my way. So I've never really been a shopper at this store, and until I got my Halloween channel, I don't think I ever really appreciated just how important this store is to UK haunters and the whole Halloween community on this side of the pond.
Loving you is easy come, you're beautiful.
And I think that's why I'm being a bit dramatic about this, because I understand just how important this store and its lineup of animatronics is to a lot of people. And for good reason. The range is one of the few stores in the UK that actually takes on Halloween properly. It does a big array of things, including home decor items, which are very good. I cannot complain about their home decor items. They do lots of smaller decorations. They do some kind of cool little miniature props. They do autumn decor, fall decor. They do party decorations. You name it, they do it. And they do a lot of it too. And I have no problems, no qualms with all that kind of stuff at all. My problem that I have with the range is with their range of larger animatronics. Basically anything that's over about £25 and going upwards from there. Them ones I have a problem with for lots of different reasons. Sometimes, mostly, it kind of just riles me how people are so happy and excited for these props, and I'm looking at them like, are we looking at the same thing? But mostly, it's because these animatronics are mostly Sunstar. Now, before anyone says it from the UK, I know that the range isn't the only store in the UK that sells Sunstar. Most of them do. It's just that the range seems to do the biggest range of them, the most of them. Some people would say that's a good thing, and I kind of don't. And again, I've said about Sunstar in the past, it has a place in the market. I have it. Everyone in the UK owns at least one Sunstar thing. I own lots of them. They have a very real place in the market, as long as you accept them for what they are. And this is the big problem I have. Because what Sunstar is, no beating around the bush, is cheap, generic stuff. Mass-produced, cheap, generic crap.
Damn!
It's the sort of stuff you would use to fill a haunt, to fill a gap in a corner of a haunt, or to make your bedroom a little bit more spooky or something. It is not A-star, A-grade, all singing, all dancing, the best props you've ever seen. That it is not. It just isn't. But what kind of just sticks in the back of my throat is that that's not what the range says. The range basically promotes this stuff as if it's the bee's knees. And there are so many people here in the UK who gobble it up and are like, yeah, I've never seen anything better.
Awesome. Wow.
And I'm just perplexed by it because I'm like, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
This stuff is not as good as what you are saying it is. But that would be but one reason to dislike it, because it's cheap and generic, right? Because it's cheap and poorly made and it just doesn't look very good, a lot of it. It is what it is. It's fine if you're just trying to fill out your haunt, but it is not something you build an entire display around, at least not in my opinion. But the other thing that riles me up is that this stuff is sold for such high prices, or at least arguably high prices compared to what you're actually getting. And it kind of annoys me that we are constantly seeing in the UK these products that are very cheaply made and very generic, and they're just kind of rehashed every single year with the same phrases and same movements and all the rest of it. But the price just continues to go up. And I know some of that's to do with economics, but some of it, in honesty, I feel at least, is profiteering.
How dare you?
But my third biggest problem with Sunstar is not just that it's cheap and generic, and not just that the price usually doesn't match what the prop actually is, but that this stuff has no longevity. This stuff is not built to last. This stuff is built to last a few times, maybe for a single season, maybe two at a push, and then it's over and done with. And personally, if I've spent more than £50 for something, I want that thing to work a good few seasons. And we've reached a point where the range's stuff and their Sunstar range of stuff, the quality has stagnated. There is very little that's gotten quality-wise better, but the prices just continue to rise, and that just don't sit right with me. When it comes to this year's lineup, I've already spoken about it. It was released, or at least leaked, very early on in the season. And actually, at that point, I was relatively impressed with most of what we were seeing. It didn't look too bad. And I spoke quite positively about it in a video months ago. But then as time has gone on, and I've analysed it more and more and looked at it as a consumer, would I actually buy any of this stuff? And I've heard tales of terror from people who actually have bothered to. My opinion of it has changed, and I've started to see the majority of it, at least, for what it is. Cheap, generic crap. Poorly manufactured props with the same old regurgitated movements and phrases that we've seen for the last decade. If I have to see another prop going, boo, I scared you, in like a vampire or something. No, Nosferatu didn't say that, but I so scared you. No. Change some of these tracks, Sunstar. What are you doing? But that's what we see. The same stuff regurgitated again and again, just with slightly differing clothing or slightly differing face paints or something. But it's still not good. This year there have been one or two exceptions to this rule. We have had that climbing rise up clown, which I think was selling for about £72. And from what I've heard, it's been nothing but positivity. Everyone who's bought it has raved about how good it is. The quality seems to be pretty good, and it does what it should do. So thumbs up there, that's not too bad. Personally, looking at it, I still don't think it's worth £72. But if you do and you've bought it and you're happy with it, then I'll just shut up. There is also another prop, the bride and groom, which on the face of it looks pretty good. It's a bride and groom, and the groom's head pops off. That's the action. It's quite an impressive little scare action, actually. But this thing is retailing for £130. Excuse me?
Beg your pardon?
I'm sorry, I don't know what universe that's worth £130, but it's not. Yes, okay, so compared to some of the things in the lineup, this is pretty impressive. It's 2 props, dressed in pretty good outfits. The head sculpts look okay, the hand sculpts look okay, and there is a little scare action. Wonderful. £130, it is not. 80, possibly. 70, definitely. 50, maybe, even pushing it, possibly. But you know what I mean. Not 130, and there are several reasons why not. Number one, I haven't seen the mech on this, but I guarantee it isn't that good. And when you start to get into the sort of 120, £130 mark, you start competing with props that are far more substantial than this. For instance, the Rise Up Reaper that's being sold in Costco right now. Not everybody's favourite, I'm not even sure it's my favourite, but it's retailing for about £134 when it was on the website anyway, about 122 in store, and it is, as far as we're aware, made by Pan Asian Creations. It's much more substantial, it looks much, much better, it's actually doing a slightly more impressive thing, and it's opening its mouth too, and it's basically the same price. These two things should not be in the same price category. Come on. But £130 might just be justifiable if these things were made to last. And as has been identified time and time again, and I will give examples in a moment, these things just are not. They don't last. Already this year, I've heard several reports of lots of props being bought from the range that either were broken in store or were broken by the time they got the thing home, boxes being opened and finding poles rusted and clothing of props covered in watermarks as if they were left in a damp spot, broken plastic, mechanisms not doing what they should do or not working at all. I've heard report after report after report of these things. And okay, the range might have swapped them out, might have given refunds, but that's not really the point. These things shouldn't be this crap. They shouldn't be breaking before people have even got them home. And they certainly should be able to last a couple of Halloween seasons, which the majority of them don't. And here's where I give my personal experience of this. I have a literal graveyard full of broken and dead Sunstar props that I have almost collected. I've got more of them than I think I've got of anything else. Props that I've accumulated over the years and kept because they still work as a sort of weird static prop, but they don't work and stopped working after pretty much one season. And last year, I did a little mini experiment, more for myself than for anyone else, just to sort of check this theory out. You might remember if you were here this time last year, I didn't buy a large-scale animatronic. I didn't know what I wanted. So the money I would have spent on a big animatronic, I sort of spent on a lot of smaller animatronics, most of which were Sunstar. I bought 7 in total of all kinds of different ones from different stores. Out of the 7, 5 of them were from the range. A couple of them I bought online, a few of them I bought in store. And they were all right. They were not too bad. And in total, I probably spent about £170. But just interestingly, how many of those 7 Sunstar animatronics do you think are still working this year? Inquiring minds want to know. What do you think? 5? 6? 7 would be great, right? The answer's 2. 2 are left working, and even within those 2, one of them is not working as it should. It's not working as well as it did. And before people say, well, you obviously mistreated them, Dan. You obviously didn't pack them away, Dan. Did you take the batteries out, Dan? Yes, I did all those things. I looked after them well. I didn't let them get wet. I did all the things you're supposed to do to look after a prop. 2 of the things were broken before they'd even gone into my display. They had literally traveled in a bag from the range to my home, and they were broken before I'd even put them out. Not physically broken, just the mech didn't work. The other 3 that stopped working sort of slowly stopped working throughout the Halloween period. Just wouldn't do anything. Just stopped lighting up, stopped moving, stopped saying any phrases. And even when I changed the batteries, nothing. And so out of the £170 that I spent, a good 100 of that has just gone to landfill. And it's a complete waste, and it shouldn't be like that. And at that point, I kind of swore off. I was like, I'm not going to be interested in the range next year. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fall for it. I will never fall for it again. And then I fell for it again.
You don't say!
And I decided, whilst on holiday a few weeks back, to visit a range that was close to where we were staying. They didn't have tons of stuff, but what they did have was an aisle's worth of a few animatronics and props, and amongst them was a prop that I had been interested in for a few years, the hanging light-up mummy. This is a simple prop. It was $22.99. You hang it upside down. It looks like it's been caught in a load of cobweb. It jiggles about and moans a bit, and it has a light up function where it kind of lights up throughout the body and the LED eyes light too. Very simple, very straightforward. Out of the 4 that were in the shop, only 1 of them was working. That might just be the batteries had run out, of course. It could be. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But I, of course, picked the one that was working, that was lighting, that was jiggling, that was making its sounds. I bought it, we put it in the boot of our car, and drove back to where we were staying on holiday. And somehow, as if by magic, on that 10-minute journey home, that thing decided to stop working. Well, it still jiggled and it still moaned, but the light up function had completely stopped working. And I was tempted to take it back, but I think as many people who buy these cheaper end props feel, I care more about the petrol in my tank than I do about returning this cheap generic prop. And so I still own the thing, even though it doesn't work properly. The problem we have here in the UK is manyfold, but one of the biggest problems is a lack of choice. We don't have a huge amount of choice when it comes to this sort of stuff. You have 2 routes to go down. You either spend an absolute fortune on American imported props, either on an online seller, or ironically, the range actually is stocking a few very high priced, older Home Depot animatronics. And when I talk high prices, I'm talking £600 plus for props that when they were being sold in the US were probably more like $300. It's hugely expensive to buy these sorts of props here in the UK, and it prices most people out. And so if you cannot choose that option, you are left with only one other option. And that is with stores like The Range who sell cheaper, more generic, kind of more basic, more cheaply constructed props like Sunstar. And as I've already said, that wouldn't be so bad if these things were at least made to last more than a couple of seasons and the prices matched the quality, i.e. either the quality should be improving and therefore they can justify the higher price, or they accept the fact that it's cheap generic crap and the price comes down to match that quality. You don't need to be a genius to work out that most of this stuff is constructed very cheaply in some Chinese sweatshop somewhere, and it doesn't cost an absolute fortune. Yet we are being sold this stuff that probably costs about £3 to manufacture for £40, £50, £60, £130. Are you kidding me now? Are you kidding me with this? And again, if this stuff lasted, if you knew that it was going to be perfectly working after a year or 2 or 3 or 4, people would be happy to spend this money. I would be happy to spend that money. But unfortunately, and I don't want to jinx anyone, but I guarantee this time next year, there'll be a whole bunch of people with bride and grooms where the mechanism in the groom's head isn't working properly and they're trying to sell them on Facebook Marketplace for half what they paid. I mean, I'm no psychic, but there's a pretty good chance of that. I just find the whole thing kind of insulting. It's insulting to the British public that we are given so little choice, and the choice we're given is between not celebrating Halloween or buying cheap generic crap to a higher price. It's insulting. It shouldn't be that way. And I know what some of you are going to be thinking. Dan, you don't need to shop there. Just don't buy things from there anymore. Or actually bother to go back and get a refund. But it's in that middle zone of things being cheap, but not cheap enough. But so cheap that it's not worthy of you taking them back. And if you do take them back, who's knowing whether you actually will get a refund, or will they just give you another one of those props, which will also probably break. Regardless of how much the thing has cost you, £20, £30 or more, these things should be built to last. It shouldn't be good enough for us or anyone else that we are just expected to buy this crap and expected, almost like it's just a given that it's not going to last. It should be able to do what it's designed to do, which is work a couple of times in its lifetime for Halloween. That's it. That's all it needs to do. And if it can't do that, then it's not good enough.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough!
And it's not good enough to sell at any price. And I think what we've got going on in the UK is almost kind of like Stockholm Syndrome. If you don't know what Stockholm Syndrome is, it's when a person is kidnapped and held hostage, and then over a long period of time, they almost kind of start sympathizing with their kidnappers and even sometimes fall in love with them and take their side. It's a very weird concept. And it's like that with this. We have become so used to this sort of crap being spieled out every year. And we know that if not for this, our choices would be even slimmer, that we're happy to have it. We're like, oh, thank you for this crap that's going to fall apart in 10 minutes. Because we'd rather have something than nothing. But I have decided I will not anymore.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
I'm not saying I'll never shop at the range again. I'm not saying I'll never buy anything from the range again. But what I am saying is, I will no longer be talking about the props £30 and above from the range, unless some massive changes take place. Unless the quality of the props improve to match the high price, or the high price comes down to match the questionable quality of the props, I will not be talking about them on my channel anymore.
You need to leave!
I won't be promoting them, I won't be buying them, I won't be discussing them. I just cannot bring myself to pretend that these things are good any longer when they clearly are not. And I know that for some of you, you're like, well, I don't care what your opinion on it is anyway, Dan. I already knew you hated it. And that's fine. And if I've disappointed anyone or upset anyone or even angered anyone with this opinion, remember, it is just an opinion. I'm not saying that you have to believe what I'm saying. This is just what I feel is going on. It is an opinion alone. But you have to admit, even if you are the staunchest of supporters of Sunstar and the things that are kept in the range, even you must have experienced the odd thing that hasn't lasted particularly well, or broke after a few uses, or you got it home and it was already broke. It must have happened to you. It can't just be me. But I apologise if I've upset any of you. I don't want to upset any of you. I've probably just alienated myself from most of the UK. I had to give my opinion. You asked for it, and I gave it. I had to be honest, because this has been bugging me for quite some time. And now, probably having created a huge amount of hate from most of the UK haunted community, I bid you farewell. Bye. Probably never to be heard from again. So again, thank you for watching, and I will, hopefully, see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.